Hi everybody, it's Ginger. I'm the creator of Traveling Kindness Rocks, and I'm with you today because I want to teach you how to create this painting. So this is a process that I developed with the help of my partner Steve. Together we created the tools and the concept that you're about to see, which is that you can replicate this design by following a pattern I've created. So I'm going to welcome you today to join in around the world and dot with other people. Traveling Kindness Rocks basically is based on mandalas and building a community of support. So this is a Traveling Kindness Rock here. It makes its way around the world. The ones that are sent out completely free of charge because of a community of people who are supporting the travels of the rocks by participating in workshops, purchasing merchandise, and helping money flow into the program. So now the concept with the designs and the patterns that I'm creating is that if you'd like to, you can join in a club where you receive one of these patterns a month, and the membership fees are helping to support charities around the world. You can also purchase very shortly, as of the making of this video, it will be very shortly. There'll be just patterns on the website that you can purchase if you choose to, and that can be part of being part of the club or on its own. So I'm going to teach you how to do this, and I believe that at least 10 years old and up could handle this process. So I'll get started and show you what to do. I just moved down there because I don't want to move my camera, and I wanted to be able to see me. So what you'll need is you will need for this particular design, and you can download this design completely free off of travelingkindnessrocks.ca, and you will need to prepare your paints. I also sell kits of supplies on the website, so you can have everything you need if you'd like to get it off of our website. So these are the paints. There is 7 different colors, I believe, and you also need something to paint on. When I do the designs, I lay out the approximate size. This one is about 4 inches square when it's completed, and the whole process is based on the tools that my partner and I created. And when you number them, when you get them, we don't number them, but if you want to put the numbers on to help you, I label the largest one number 1, and then it goes on from there. And the last one is this special tool, which is tool number 7. So I'm going to talk you through the base layer, and then I'll show you what the printed out version of the instructions looks like and talk you through how to use those. And by then you will hopefully know how to do it. So when you start out a mandala, this is an 8-point mandala, and I call it an 8-point mandala because if you were to count each of the steps, it's done 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we count the inner yellow, it's 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Everything in this design is done 8 times except for the very center. So I'm going to teach you how to start out. Once you know the process of how to start these and how to build a design, you'll be able to follow the steps. So we're going to be working with tool number 1, and you may want to practice just putting down the first dot. The larger the tool, the more delicate you have to put down the dot. So you get a little bit of paint, or I shouldn't say a little bit of paint, that often throws people off. Let the bottom of your tool get completely covered in paint and leave on whatever amount is there. Some people want to scrape it off, but just leave it there and it will lay down the best dot for you. If you're working on paper, use your non-dominant hand to keep that paper from flipping up on you. And then you let your dot form by just gently allowing the paint to transfer. So with this dot size, I'm barely pushing at all. If I push too hard, it will actually push the paint out and I'll get a center area that is blank. So I'm going to keep my non-dominant hand down there and very gently let it lift up. And there'll be a little blip of paint there in the middle. I don't worry about that because later on it will get some paint over top of it. And I'd suggest too, while you're working, like this is pre-cut to 4 inches. So if you want to, you could work with that, or you could work on something that's slightly bigger, but make sure you have enough space as you start out. The next step in the design, I'm going to use tool number 6. And if at any point I'm working too fast, please just pause the video. I'm just working quickly because for the sake of time with the video, but you should take your time and just allow yourself to do it at whatever speed works for you. So I'm going to envision that this dot I created is an analog clock with the numbers on it, and I'm going to be working with yellow. So this is my first step of 8, and this is a very important step. This is laying down the first set of 8s, is laying down the foundation for the rest of the design. So I'm going to put my dot so that it is at the 12 o'clock spot. So wherever 12 o'clock would be on that clock, I'm putting a dot, so it's just above it. My goal is for it to almost touch, and that will come with practice. I'm going to reapply the same color paint, and I'm going straight down to 6 o'clock, like it's an imaginary line that I now have 2 dots on, at the 12 o'clock and the 6 o'clock. I'm going to rotate my paper now so that those first 2 dots are at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And then I'm dividing my space in half, and I've got a new 12 o'clock spot with no dot on it. And I'm going to put this next dot on that 12 o'clock spot. And I'm again working 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock straight down to 6 o'clock. And as I get practiced, what will happen is I'll have equal space between all 4 dots. Now I'm going to rotate slightly so that I'm dividing these spaces in half again, and again I'm working from 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. I always rotate my paper or whatever surface I'm working on, because that way I'm actually only doing the same action over and over again, and I'll get more consistent with my dots. So there's the second, or the number 5 and 6, and I rotate it and I do those same procedure again, 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Always reapplying my paint because that gives me the best shot at getting the same size dot. When I finish that step, I wipe off my tool on a piece of paper towel I keep right here on my lap. So that is the first set of 8. The next set of 8, you need tool number 7, and you're working with pale blue. So I'm going to, you'll notice if you get work with these tools that depending on how much you dip this particular tool in, it can have a range of sizes. So I'm just dipping it in just so the ball bottom is covered, and I'm working with my pale blue, and I'm going to work now so that the pale blue is kind of nestled between the tops of those yellow. And I'm going to work on another series of imaginary lines. So as you can see, this blue and this blue line up, and there's like an imaginary dot right in the center of my white, and I'm always lining up with that. So I'm going to go ahead, and again, I'm working quickly just to save time with the video. Please pause the video and work at your own pace so that these are in line as best as you can, and as best as you can are the same size. So that's my next set of 8 dots. I'm now moving to tool number 4, and I'm going to work with turquoise. So turquoise is going to, these dots, these next set of 8s, live in the same line I was just working on with the pale blue. So I'll do a couple of them so that you can see them. There they are. So they are in line with each other, and I'm just going to quickly put on my set of 8. So that they are finished for you. So again, please stop the video and do it at your own pace. There is no rush. Take your time. There it is. That's my next set of 8. I'm now moving on to tool number 7 again, and I'm going to work with white. And I'm going to get this white dot to go right in so it is on the tippy top of the yellow. So I'm back to working on that imaginary line. It's like 2 sets of imaginary lines, and this yellow is the first one we were building. So I'm going to go ahead and put on all 8 of those. And I reapply my paint every time with this tool. This tool is a bit special because it can work this way. And in a very short time, we're going to learn that it has another special capability as well. So there's my next set. Now I'm going to need tool number 6, and I'm going to build on the same line I was just working on. And I'm using white again to put a little bit larger dot just on top of the white that we just created. So do 8 of those. It's like it's nestling right in line with the turquoise. So far we've been working with relatively small dots on our design, but now it's all going to change. And you'll notice that I'm not quite as careful. I don't have to take as much time with these smaller dots and worry about the pressure quite as much as with the larger dots. So we are going back now to the largest dot, which is tool number 1. And we're still building in the line we were on for this design. And we're working with bright blue. And we're going to be using this big one. So with the big guy, I find I have to leave a little bit of space as I lay it down on my design, because that paint needs some space as it leaves the tool to go. So if you move back just slightly, as it moves out, it will go to touch your dot. So these are going in line with the white dots we were just creating. And again, remember to keep your hand down on the surface. If you're working on a piece of paper, cardstock works really well. I find that construction paper is not quite as nice, but if that's what you had, that would be fine. And again, I'm not scraping off any paint, and I can see I'm a little bit off center with this particular mandala as far as its levelness, left to right and top to bottom on my paper, but that shows you what happens when you work quickly. That's what I'm doing just to make sure this video will upload. So I wipe my tool off, and this is what I am left with. So you can see that really takes up a lot of surface. And now I'm going back to tool number 4. Please pause the video if you need time to catch up. And I'm going to be working with Ocean Breeze, and I'm going to put this in line where I was working so that you can see that I'll line it up. So this is a line of yellow, small white, bigger white, huge blue, and then Ocean Breeze. So go ahead and do that on all 8. And as I have a lot of paint down, I have to very carefully shimmy this around. So for me, when I work, I try to keep my designs very close knit, meaning that I try my best to have my dots almost touch. What you really need for sure is you're aiming for consistency. So if you have a space that's a little bit bigger on one side as you do a step in the design than it is on another, what will happen is that side will get a little longer than the other side. So you want to be consistent. If you're not going to aim for being as close as possible, aim for your space